Okay, I think we're ready to start the second part. And during this part and next, every partner will have a chance to tell about their backgrounds and their main involvement in the project. But please let me start with the whole idea of our project. So, as Paul already said, we're gonna be dealing with dunes, and dunes are exceptional habitats, exceptional ecosystems. They're fragile, they can be easily destroyed. They are dynamic, so one day they will be in a state A, the other day in a state B. They are important as a part of coastal protection. So it's about the environment, it's about the landscape, but it's also about coastal protection. They appear in places that are hugely attractive to tourists. And I will try to show you that this is another problem, and Paul already mentioned this. And they are a subject of interest to various authorities and social groups, which makes it again difficult to maintain and to protect. So the problems we're dealing on the southern Baltic coast is that we do have a situation like in the upper picture, when there is erosion, and there's no dune system, or at the bottom, in the bottom, the picture when there are dunes, but they're very narrow and stabilized. So this is a picture that shows more or less the evolution of dynamic systems over years. Starting with 18th century here, when we had, well, quite wide dune systems with 4 dune, yellow dune, grey dune, and then brown dune with forest. Then I really like this picture, especially like those little people on the beach. But there is a 19th and 20th century, the beginning of 20th century, where the system starts changing. So we've got narrower dunes, open dunes. Then the process of erosion comes and speeds up. So we have half of the 20th century, when there's almost like no open dunes. Dunes are planted with trees, and because of the erosion, we have something that it's. Some people say that they are sandy cliffs, yeah, although they're not cliffs, but they look like cliffs. And more people on the beach, of course. Then the common state now is where on the many, like the long stretches of the coast, we will see no like dunes, especially no healthy dunes, but we will see just forest, then the cliff and the beach. So the erosion process is one of the problems for dunes, which need fuel, which they need sand to be rebuilt, and within their dynamic. The other problem with dune ecosystems is the appearance of invasive species. And as Paul said, this is a very difficult problem worldwide. One of the species that is actually loved by tourists because it's beautiful, and it is. It's got beautiful big flowers that smell nice, and you can pick the petals and, you know, make some jam, etc. So this is Japanese rose, and Japanese rose is spread all over dune ecosystems in Europe, and it's really difficult to get rid of. And we've got some experiences from the Polish background. Professor Jacek Herbich tried to fight with this species, and it's really tricky, and it needs a lot of time and effort and money to get rid of. So this is how dunes with Rosa rugosa, Japanese rose, look like, but they look also like this. And this is Kasia, I don't know if Kasia is here, working on dunes, and this is not botanical garden, this is sandy dunes. We learned, preparing the project, that actually more like a local problem for the southern Baltic coast are willows. And again, there are two species, mostly Salix acutifolia, Salix daphnoides, which, when the material from those species used to build fascine fences, when they start getting green, they will overgrow dunes and create shrubs. So again, instead of healthy dune ecosystems, you will have just willow shrubs. Less of a problem on the Polish Baltic coast, but a problem in general is another species, which is Padus or Prunus serotina. And this is invasive species that Germany and more like Western Europe faces. It's not too common on the Polish Baltic coast, but it is really difficult to get rid of as well. And there are some other species that are difficult, invasive, destroying those habitats, sand dune habitats. Another problem is that open dunes are creating like very narrow. Well, they are left to a very narrow walls and dunes here because of the afforestation. So with trees planted to protect dunes, to stabilize them, there's not too much space left for open ecosystems. And of course, we can argue whatever is better for stable dune systems, but then if we think about biodiversity, creating diversity, then we've got a lot of areas of forests, not that many hectares of open dunes. With litter and on dunes which are disturbed, the other species, not invasive, but not ecologically suitable, will appear. So this is another problem, species that shouldn't be a part of healthy natural systems. And because, as it was said many times, we're talking about dunes, we're talking about the coast, so this is a highly attractive piece of land, so it's going to have a lot of anthropopressure. It's going to face a lot of anthropopressure. And people don't know how to act. They don't know about the characteristics of dunes. So they would go to the dunes to find shelter from the wind, to unfortunately use them as changing rooms, to camp, yeah, for romantic reasons. So there is a lot of litter, there is a lot of trampling, there is a lot of bare sand that with the wind and not too much resources of those dune habitats will make them being devastated. And I was talking about changing rooms. What I actually meant, and I'm going to say it, people use dune systems as toilets. So, yeah, this is another problem. And here these are two articles from Polish websites. And this one says toilet with the sea view. So, yeah, we can think about different ideas how to prevent people from going into dune systems, but they need to be wise. And anthropopressure. And in the past, when there was no GPS system, people wouldn't go to many stretches of the coast because they didn't know about them. They were just maps, paper maps, yeah. And now it's very easy to just Google like most desert, beach in Poland, and very easily go there. So there's less and less stretches of the coast which is going to be kind of intact of tourism. And this is not Miami Beach. This is Władysławowo. Believe it or not. And this picture I really like, and I took it when I was in Germany. And it shows a dune with planted Ammophila arenaria. And on the same part of the coast, there were more or less natural sand dunes. And this creation, which looks more like like a dune garden, and you can guess which one was valued more by the people and which one they wouldn't enter. So this one was, in the eyes of tourists, would be seen as valuable because someone put money, someone put effort. They wouldn't go and walk on those dunes. But if there were no fences and no signs, that means it's not valuable, and you can go there, change, yeah, leave your litter, etc., which is surprising. So Paul already took us through the effects of all those problems that we face with dune habitats. But for those who are not familiar with conservation status of habitats, natural habitats, when you see U2, that means it's very bad. And for 5 different types of habitats, the structure and functions, future prospects, and overall assessment, you see, there's almost no favorable state. It's almost always bad, with trend deteriorating. So let's look at the red list of habitats, European red list of habitats. Shifting coastal dunes, new threatened. Grey dunes, vulnerable. Heaths with Empetrum nigrum, vulnerable. Wet dune slacks, vulnerable. And from Polish red list of Natura 2000 habitats, enduring shifting dunes, endangered. White dunes, critically endangered. Grey dunes, endangered. Heaths with Empetrum nigrum, endangered. And then humid dune slacks, near threatened. So it doesn't look good. And it's surprising because most of the coast is actually protected by Natura 2000 sites, but Natura 2000 net. So those, I chose Germany, Poland, and Lithuania. Those sections of the coast are being protected, and what we need to do, what is our main task, is to protect those ecosystems, those habitats within those areas. So we've got laws, European laws, and actually there's a great need to protect those habitats, but it's really difficult to be done. So what can be done then? So that's why we started the project on the Baltic coast, and we invited our friends from Germany and Lithuania, because it's not about one country, it's about the whole system. And the main goals of the, and we invited many partners to find solutions and try to fix this terrible state. University of Gdańsk is the coordinator of the project, but we do have great geomorphologists from University of Szczecin. Maybe, where are you? Andrzej is the coordinator here. We do have our friends from Institute of Hydroengineering of Polish Academy of Science. Gosiu? We have specialists from West Pomeranian University of Technology, and I know that Andrzej is not here, but Paweł and Witek are here. We have on board EUCC Germany with Nardin here, who's going to be implementing the project with us. We have Klaipėda University, Martynas. Pomorskie Województwo, which means the landscape parks, and Kasia, and Słowiński National Park. And also associated partners. Maritime Office in Gdynia, University in Toruń, Institute of Botany of Polish Academy of Science, University of Greifswald, and Kuronen-Split National Park. We're going to be implementing the project in Natura 2000 areas, which were carefully selected over the coast. We selected stretches that should be quite safe to implement all the methods that we chose. We are addressing 5 types of habitats: embryonic shifting dunes, white dunes, grey dunes, heaths with Empetrum nigrum, and humid dune slugs. And the main aim of the project is to prevent the loss of biodiversity typical for coastal areas within Poland, Polish, German, and Lithuanian coast. The main things that we're going to do, we're going to implement restoration methods, which are very expensive and very difficult, unfortunately. But there is a lot of knowledge from different projects, yeah? Fortunately. The other aim is to disseminate the project results. So, again, not to invent the wheel again, invent the wheel again, and raise the public awareness of the problem. Objectives: improving the conservation status of coastal habitats through the removal of invasive species and ecologically alien species, and habitat rejuvenation, which means removing trees as well. Second objective is to gather as much knowledge as we can do to find if there is a long-term solution to sustain then the effects of the project. So another objective, dissemination of project results to those responsible for coastal zone management, and raising public awareness about the threats, about the ways to protect coastal dune habitats. One of my colleagues once said that if people are not aware of the value of those ecosystems, they would be happy even with palm trees growing on the coast in Poland. But this is our role to teach them what's the real value in natural habitats and natural species that should be found on the coast. Additional objective, and this is quite important for me personally, I'm not happy with the methodology of assessing the state of natural habitats, those dynamic habitats. In Poland, it is being done on set places and with dynamic habitats. It doesn't work. I don't think so. So we're going to try to improve and modify this methodology, including remote sensing methods, which are more and more common and should be very soon very helpful. So, University of Gdańsk, a bit about our background. University of Gdańsk is the largest university in Polish Pomeranian region. People employed at the university, they conduct research, teach, students cooperate with stakeholders, obtain funds for projects like this one. And we are quite successful with projects. There are numbers from 2022, but they show more or less the scale. So between 2002 2020, University of Gdańsk signed about 420 agreements on the co-financing of European and international projects. I'm just telling you this only to show that we know how to deal with projects. And one of our, let's say, like smaller projects that were done on the Baltic coast for dune habitats was the one carried by Professor Jacek Herbich. It was done on the top of Hel Peninsula here, actually an area that was used for military reasons and highly devastated with Japanese rose on top of it. And so the project main goal was to restore those habitats, the sand dune habitats. And it was done. And it was effective, although it was time-consuming and money-consuming as well. So hopefully with all the knowledge from different projects, we will be able to reach our goals. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Question about that last project. I'm pronouncing it correctly. Kopolhelski,
Yeah.
Close.
The top of the Hell Peninsula.
Sure. Were there any problems with unexploded bombs and ammunition in the removal of Rose and Augusta? Because we came across this. Many of our dune sites in the UK were used to practice for the D-Day landings, and the budget to remove the unexploded ordnance, I could be wrong, but I think it exceeded the project budget. The military were very, very helpful. It can be a real problem on sand dunes.
Yes, thank you. You're right when you thought about this, and may I ask Professor Jacek Hedwig for help here, because he was involved in this. Czy były nie wybuchy jakieś, czy były problemy?
Jest. W momencie, kiedy zanim projekt ruszył, jeśli chodzi o usuwanie róży, obcego substratu glebowego i tak dalej, pierwsi weszli saperzy. I na obszarze, nasz projekt obejmował powierzchnię 10 hektarów i na tej powierzchni w warstwie półmetrowej grubości saperzy znaleźli 97 niewybuchów pocisków artyleryjskich i moździerzowych.
So yes, there was a problem, and the specialist had to go and uncover like half a meter of material, and there were 97 artifacts from war, so dangerous. So this is a problem, and you're right. This is another challenge on the coast, especially on the Hell Peninsula.
It was a severe problem because just Hell Peninsula, the end of Hell Peninsula was occupied by army from 30s of the 12th century, and the army gave to the civil administration at the beginning of 21st century.
More questions? We're going to be talking about the specific tasks tomorrow, but
Thank you, Magda. Thank you, Magda, for this nice and interesting overview. Regarding those projects, like the last one we have seen, how about the social acceptance of those changes?
we are aware, according to our. It may be tricky. I remember we went a few months ago to Sweden, and it's a common problem. So people are used to this certain state of reality, and to change their minds, it may be difficult. But saying this, I should mention that when we launched the information to media, actually, and there were the journalists going on the coast and asking people, so they were all actually quite disappointed with the state of dunes, especially if you see and you go to the sea and you smell that they are just dirty, and there's litter, and there is all those problems. Yeah, so people notice that the landscape isn't too nice. I guess they don't have a knowledge how to fix it, and they don't know how it can be done. But we planned very carefully the meetings with local authorities to explain and to prepare everyone. And one of our work packages is education, actually. Yeah? So this is a very big part of the project as well. But we'll see.
I think unexploded bombs could be quite an effective measure to remove alien species, if not all species. But my question regards the plant species that you mentioned. They are not alien invasive species, but they are just unsuitable for the habitat. Are you going to remove those species within the project? And if so, what's the reason to do that? Thank you. I'm a geographer, not a biologist, so it's not clear for me.
Yes, so they are not natural for those ecosystems. They usually appear with the litter, some seeds from, I don't know, you can find even tomatoes, plants growing on the dunes. And but fortunately they're very easily, they herbaceous or, you know, like smaller plants, so they are really easy to being just picked up and removed. So with cleaning the dunes from litter, we're going to clean them as well from those unsuitable species. If there are no more questions, I'm going to invite University of Szczecin, Andrzej.
Good afternoon already. It's a pleasure for me to speak today to you. My name is Paweł Terefenko. Our project leader will have quite a lot of job for the next 6 years, so he asked me to start a little bit, especially that it's our background at university. But before we get into the details of our work and aspects in the project, I think in my name and our team, but I think in the team, as a team of whole project, I would like to thank you, Magda, for your determination. And if not your work, I think we would have not been here today. So I think big applause for Magda. And thanks to you, today we have this big opportunity to start a really great project, a lot of activities, a lot of research, a lot of practical actions in the field also. So I represent University of Szczecin Institute of Marine and Environmental Sciences. Just a brief information. We exist since 1990 as an institute. University already has 40 years. We are in Szczecin, where we warmly invite you if you would like to see a little bit more what we do. It's my pleasure to be heading this institute for the last few months and upcoming years. But in general, we do a lot of research, starting from geography, which is our background, but finishing with some aspects of ecology and also biology, since some changes appeared in the Polish educational system, especially at the universities. So I would like to show you a little bit about our team, just small faces. Most of them you can meet here, and Andrzej, as a project leader, will be leading us within this 6 years hard job in the LIFE project. And our team is mainly connected with the monitoring of the coastal zone. So if we should correspond to what was said earlier, we are mainly working with the sand, water and wind, and a little bit with the plants. And seems that this project would be a good task for us, and I think it will be good to learn a little bit more about the plants also. So according to what we do, because we do a lot of monitoring, we try to structurize it a little bit. So here you can see the graph that will show you a bit of what we do, which is collecting data, analyzing data. So starting from archive data set that we collect from different sources, going through the field measurements, which is usually the most fun and a nice part of the work, going through the different forecasts, modeled, and preparing different softwares. And I would like to show you a little bit of this work, but in general, our idea is to share this data with all the others. So that's why this is one of the projects we have realized with Digital Poland, where we can share the data with all the others. So it's not for us, it's an open access data, so you can easily use it and reuse in your own analysis. So according to different data sources, starting from those two, which is archive and historical images, I will not show you all of them, but through the web page you can check. We have historical photographs, orthophoto maps, traditional images after different storms, and so etc., etc. So please visit the web pages and go through the data. But we also do the practical field measurements. And I'm really proud of my team because we try to do it with most modern techniques which are possible, which are much more detailed than earlier, which gives us a little bit different view of what is happening on the dune, and we can build a little bit more detailed models of what's going on and how it's happening, keeping in mind what was already done earlier, and with all this knowledge and new input, we could extend it and make it more interesting and get a better knowledge of what might happen in future. So starting from the measurements, like with the drone, this one equipped with the LiDAR module, we could get the topography with a sub-centimeter, millimeter accuracy, which gives us a really good overview of what is going on the beach and what is going on the dune itself. We also do have different monitoring systems. We use remote sensing not only as pictures from the plane, but we also use different camera modules. So here's actually a camera that has been mounted on our field station in Międzyzdroje, but we also do analyze data collected from not commercial cameras, so like a touristic place. We use them to validate the data from the measurements. We used to measure different aspects of morphology that is changing on this special, interesting coastal area, which is very, very dynamic. Finally, we also do use data that it's not collected by ourselves. For example, ECMWF reanalyzes data. Probably you better know them as a Copernicus data or a ERA 5 data sets. And this graph is one of our frameworks to analyze and to collect those data. Actually, with a cooperation after Brexit, but already with British friends from Met Office. So it's still happening, although it's much harder than earlier. Here we can collect the data from the climate data store, where we download the data. We do several processes to do the bias adjustment, downscaling. So as an effect, we receive the data for the coastal zone, which is with the resolution of 1 kilometer, starting from 31 kilometers from the ERA 5 and ERA land, which is 9 kilometers. And later we will do some different analysis with those data. We also realize a lot of jobs that are collected with coastal modeling. Coastal modeling is quite common in these times. We have a lot of tools, a lot of fast calculating machines that help us do the measurements. So in the team we have some experts that deal with the X-beach models, for example, modeling the coastal behavior during and after the storm. we also do some analysis on different coastal areas. These are coastal dunes, but also coastal cliffs. And we try to develop some software that would help to do it simultaneously without that much effort of a man. So with the help of our friends from Szczecin, from the Technological University, we have developed several different softwares. This one is already working, so you can check the publication, download the Python code, run it on your computer and see how it can be used for your purposes. But in general, the idea of all this stuff is to find out what is going on the coastal areas, how it's responding to the different activities. Especially in our case, we are interested in finding out how does coast behave according to the storms, and especially if we analyze them as a compound events or cascading events. So we do analyze also the hydrometeorological data, identifying different storms. Actually, for the European Commission, we also prepared a nice database of the different storms from 1950 till 2020 for the whole Europe. And there are also different analyses of how the coast behave. We try to describe it with models. This one is a Bayesian network model realized on, so it's more like a process-based model. But we also run a different database models and based on data from images, from space pictures also. This work is directly connected to also with some plants. So not only pure sand, but also a little bit with land cover, land use changes within history of our coast, getting back as far as we can into the back based on the remote sensing data. Then we do analysis connected with behavior of the coast according to its dynamics. So we try to classify different types of dynamics depending on how the profile is changing. So this is not directly from the data, but also including different processes that are happening on the coast, on the beach, on the dune, and also under the water, which is what I really like from Paul's lecture, that we should treat it as a whole system. Not only the dune, not only the cliff, let's say, together with the beach, but together also with offshore and shallow bathymetry, let's call it this way. So if you're interested more in our works, please try to search it in the web. It's usually published and available. So we do different analyses. We try to find out which aspects really affects, which of them are in specific place the most important for what is happening here, because we should remember that it's usually very multidisciplinary. It's not usually just wind. There's many other aspects that affect the coast itself. So here's some examples of what we see on the dune coast. Within 2 years, there have been a lot of changes on a small fragment of the coast in Mrzeżyno, for example, which affected on this 400-meter stretch of the coast. It was like 15 meters of the dunes has changed because the dune baseline has pulled back like 15 meters because due to the storms, and 5 meters high, which gives like, if we will take the sand, it would be more or less a full stadium of national football stadium. So it's a lot of sand that has been removed and transported to a different place where it can be used for rebuilding the dunes in a different place, for example. Actually, here we don't know the exact information about the bathymetry, so we don't know how the currents work, but we can try to find those data, and in different analyses we try to monitor it within all phases. So like before the storm, during the storm, after the storm. Then we also monitor not only dunes, but the bathymetry. So finally we can see the profiles, we can see how the material is distributed on the beach, on the dune, but also on the shallow bathymetry, finding out how it's changing as a whole, not only beach, not only dune, but this whole system all together. So how does it correspond to our task in the project? Because I understand this was one of the major questions. We are working with the work package 3 together with Institute of Hydro Engineering, thank you. Polish name's easier. And directly we are involved in a task 3.1, and our idea and our job is to do the monitoring, pre, inter, and post-restoration monitoring. And I hope that the data I have presented is enough. So if you would ask whether we are able or can we manage this task, I would just say to the end, yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Pavel. Are there any questions? I believe we can discuss go more into detail during the break.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Either I told everything or not was not understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Oh.
Sorry, it's another question for me. Sand dune nerd. Thinking about Magda's presentation and then yours, that the dunes, the terrestrial dunes, are very narrow, and part of that has been stabilised with forest, and then you're looking at a general retreat and movement of sediment offshore or to near shore, not knowing what's happening there. Are there any thoughts about trying to better connect the beach system with the back dunes? Because if you look at geomorphologically the coastal dunes, you can divide them up into two parts, the active frontal dunes and then the inland more stable. One of the things that we've been doing in the Netherlands and in the UK is to push notches through the frontal dune to connect the beach system with the back dunes, so the sediment moves from the beach into the back dune, and that then create that volume, and not only helps sand dune dynamics and nature conservation, but also helps with flood protection, because you've got the volume of sand in the back of the dunes. Is that a possibility in the Polish dunes? Is it happening?
Well, I don't know those examples to be tested in Poland. I think this should be rather asked to the... we do the analysis and we give the data, but the decisions are to the government. I think this is the weakest point in Poland. Connection between science and politics and decisions, and there are some institutions which are responsible for protection of the dunes, and for now I think Piotr, maybe you could do it in more details, but we are doing the beach nourishment mainly at the moment. The hard structures are those which has been built earlier, and with the newest techniques, I think the beach nourishment is the most common at the moment.
Nothing to add, very nice. Nothing to add.
No.
I think there's a lot of administrative issues as well, because it is difficult when this stretch of land is maintained by institution A, and then like 10 meters, further inland, it's another institution. So Yeah, so we will try to face it, although...
What I find personally best in the LIFE project that we are just starting, and we are really glad Magda invited us, it's the connection between research and politics and then society. Yes, so this is what we find really interesting, and I hope it will, within those 6 years, we can succeed in this and maybe proclaim some changes in the Polish systems in the future.
One step at a time. Any more questions? Thank you, Baburin. So I'm going to invite West Pomeranian University of, no, sorry, Koipera University, Martina.
Good. Just say more, like, basically.
Okay. Thank you. Hello. I'm very, very glad being here today, and especially thanks for Magda inviting us to this very, I believe, very interesting and very, hopeful, productive project. And as Magda pointed out, it's quite, there are many challenges to do here in this area, but I think there are things, as our key speaker introduced, some ways to do easier, perhaps better than, at least in the area where I work. It's usually marine environment. Actually, the results usually come up quite in longer perspective than on land, I think. We are from Klaipėda University, and the department Marine Research Institute, as I mentioned, we are mostly focused on the marine environment, but also including the coastal. We have quite now moved into the new building, which is equipped with quite good laboratories and research vessels, and which allow us to do fundamental and practical work, applied work for different institutions, and we are memberships of many associations, as you see here. And well, if we look at our department, institute, it covers quite many groups or topics in all this marine and coastal environment. They are listed here, but the main group where I represent, perhaps, is the Environment Remote Sensing Group, and here we are, I think, strongest, I think, at least for this especially project. And we were involved in quite many European level projects. I just named several of them, and you see we were also working with drones or unmanned air vehicles, trying to harmonize the methodology to use for vegetation mapping in many aspects. We were involved in the Coast Action, which involved also agricultural, forests, hydrology, even persons who use drones for mapping these environments. And there are no quite standard procedures for that, and we try to come up with some recommendations and some publications about this. Another project you see, this is Copernicus Academy Hub, which brings a lot of knowledge from all type of research. So it's also European scale, and well, we try to somehow manage or to group it more efficiently, that they would collaborate between each other. And as I mentioned, our group is dealing with remote sensing, and we were quite lucky being partners of EOMORE's Horizon project, which tried to build a kind of tool that would be used for mapping aquatic status in different in lakes and coastal waters. So that actually grew our expertise in this field, and we really, I think, are quite ready for improvement. As Magda told, we want also to improve the methodology of remote methods that are really now developing on days, I would say, or even hours. And we would like to bring this in the higher stage, to use it for even dune habitat mapping and other things. There are some also projects that we were like regional projects that we were involved for the also coastal like hydrodynamic and sediment relation. So what Pavel just mentioned, I think we are trying also to go on this direction, but maybe not in that large scale. And we were involved with Latvian colleagues on the litter project along the coastline, so trying to solve this problem. So I think we can continue something also or take out for this project as well. And some other projects that we are also like habitat mapping in Natura 2000 and other ESA, European Space Agency projects, local that we were involved. So this is our ongoing projects. We are in the institute. You may find everything. But as I mentioned, our university or our institute is more marine focused, and for this project, as Magda presented very generally what is about it, we saw that we are not enough with power to implement that. So we asked our colleagues from Vilnius Nature Center to come up to this project and join it. So he's expert in this invasive species methodology, to how to eradicate these species, how to follow the succession afterwards. And so he's in our now group, and also from Kruonen National Park, expert ecologist Žygimantas, who is here. He was also the I think key person for the managing what we are going to do there. So we will not disturb other habitats and really manage it correctly. As I mentioned, the remote sensing group is led by our Diana, who is also presenting here. And of course, she will be supported by PhD students we have now are growing, and other students. Loretta, who is unfortunately not present today, but she's from our institute, and she's working similar topics that, as Pavel presented. We are working maybe in less narrow part of coast of Lithuania, but still I think the problems and issues are quite similar. And we have Tatiana Palauskienė, also a person who is from the other department, from technological, which will try to find the solution what to do with the material we will get after eradication of the invasive species, where to put it, how to actually more sustainable way to use it, and things like that. So she will try with her team to develop some suggestions for this kind of works. And not least, myself, I am background mine is aquatic ecologist, but I'm working with vegetation in riparian areas and in coastal waters. So I think I will try to bring all these experts and try them to work for one purpose, so that our dunes would get better status. Okay, so that's, I think, my main role will be in this project. And regarding the work packages, we will be, as I mentioned, actually we will work almost in all of them, as Magda presented in her presentation, but we will work in our place, so we will cover all actually the topics, but we will be doing it mainly in our coast, with some maybe little differences, with some focuses on some aspects, because we, I think, have some differences as well. And one of these differences is that we have some alien species that we have in our coast causing problems, so we will work mostly on them, and and also for the what I said, how to use more sustainably this material that we gather after eradication or removing alien species. We will try to find these methods. And of course, for the work package 4, where education and communication is foreseen, we are here in green more, where we are more focusing in organizing public awareness raising, because I think it's very, very important for this project, because this project 6 years, and what's after that, yeah? So I think education is one way how we can, how to say, extend our methods working. And I think that is the point where we have to focus also, thinking that after the project ends, we need some continuation. So I think that will bring should bring good education and awareness rising in the public. I think local people or local population could be educated how to behave or how to help to remove or to manage these at least invasive species or other problems in our environments. And here, as I was talking, that we what we have in Lithuania is 2 areas. You see, one is located on the mainland. This is number 9, and one is in the Curonian Spit, which is the largest area and the most beautiful, I think, area with grey dunes, as you see. And for these areas, of course, we need local help or assistance, and for that we will have associate partners here. As you see, is administration of the Curonian National Park and also Lithuanian minor protected areas. So one is for the Kuronė and Spite and another for this mainland area. So we will working, I think, close with these directors and teams, and I think we will try to manage all these things. So thank you very much for your attention and hope to start work.
Thank you, Martinas. Any questions to our guests? Again, we will have quite a few chances to talk.
Of course.
Yeah. Today, still, or tomorrow. So thank you again, Martinas. The last speaker for this part is West Pomeranian University of Technology. So I guess I'm going to invite Paulina.
Możemy odwrócić monitor trochę. Proszę. Tutaj do góry. Dobra, a to jak działa? To gdzie? Tutaj, a pointer jest tutaj, tak.
So, good afternoon. My name is Malwina Bondarewicz, and in today's presentation I would like to briefly describe the scope of work of our team. Laboratory of Spatial Information Systems of Department of Multimedia Systems in Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology in West Pomeranian University of Technology in Szczecin is a multidisciplinary team which consists of software developers, data analysts, geoinformatics, mathematicians, as well as image recognition, deep learning, spatial information system specialists. We collect the spatial data mainly using drones equipped with various types of cameras like RGB, multispectral, and LiDAR sensors. We are experienced in flights with drones using this type of cameras, then analysis of this image data, point clouds, and remote sensing data, machine learning, deep learning methods, as well as geoinformatics, mathematical modeling, and software development. So let's take a quick glance. How does the typical photogrammetric mission look like? So first, we select a location for our mission, and then we verify the availability of airspace at the selected time. Next, we plan our mission in details and check the conditions, weather conditions, and any other conditions just before the flight also, just to be sure, and we declare the flight in the drone tower application. After all of these preparations, we finally can fly for a second and collect the data. Then, as it is mandatory, we archive the flight logs. After that, we need to process obtain the data by selection of the images, and here we generate the corresponding model and target and map of NDVI distribution. So that's the part when the collection and the processing data ends, and we now can start to analyze the data. So for this data analysis, we can use various algorithms such as detection, segmentation, both supervised and unsupervised, and then hopefully we obtain our goal, right? So let's move on to some projects we are currently involved in. First of the project is an InfoStrategy project. In that project, we are mainly interested in automatic detection of topographic objects, such as buildings, roads, and so on. The main receiver is Head Office of Geodesy and Cartography, and the project has managed to obtain some fundings from National Center of Research and Development. So let's take a look how actually this detection can look like, because then we will be used in very many other applications, such as the plant species on the dunes. So first, we start with the raw data. Those are just pictures collected and provided for us. Then we make some kind of elevation map by using data obtained from LIDAR. And then in the third column, you can see the actual data and data which is produced by our algorithms. So they are pretty similar. And in the last column, you can see only the differences. So in some cases, we obtained a very good results, meaning that the actual data and the predicted data are very similar to each other, right? The next project is the evaluation of segmentation of invasive species, namely in this case the Sosnowski hagweed, which is very invasive and dangerous plant. Using deep learning algorithms, we are aiming to do some maps of covering of the plant, such as this map seen here. And every time we perform any task, like image recognition, detection, and so on, we want to also evaluate our results, right? So in that case, it turned out the usual evaluation methods weren't as accurate as we wanted them to be. That's why we we developed the new evaluation methods using mathematical modeling. And part of this calculation you can see here. Yeah, so this type of calculations can be also used to another plants as species, and it goes both ways. On one hand, we can use these calculations to detect some plants on the dunes, like this invasive species or this species which should stay here, right? But on the other hand, using the plants, the data obtained from dunes, we can improve our methods and mathematical modeling, right? So the next project we were involved in is the morphology of dunes and cliffs, and more on that project can be told by our friends from University of Szczecin. But our contribution to that project was to provide an application to see how the dunes changes over time. We have worked in dune profiles, and then we checked how they are changing over time to see, for instance, the level of erosion and so on and so on. It is also worth noting that this data is not interested by itself, but it is very valuable information for nearby infrastructure, for example. And of course, the last but not least is the LIFE project. The aim of this project is, of course, the protection of the dune habitat, natural habitat. So our task here is first to use the drones to collect the data in the manner I showed before, then to work with that data. Yeah, so using the RGB photos, multispectral, and so on, to see which plants are desired and which are not to be here. We then also want to monitor all of our work and provide an application for monitoring of this work and all of the actions we performed. So that is it for my today presentation. Do you have some questions? If not, that's not the case, then thank you for your attention and see you tomorrow.
Thank you. So as you see, we are dealing with nature, but this is a lot of geography people and IT people, and this is because we need the knowledge how to deal in the long term with dunes. And I know how to, because we did some preliminary research with our friends from West Pomeranian University of Technology, and I know that it is difficult. It seems like you can just fly a drone whenever and it's gonna get the data for you which you can analyze, but it is more complicated. Yeah. So I'm really happy that we're going to be working together, and I hope we can learn from each other a lot. Thank you for this part then. There's going to be lunch ready, so please feel free to join, have some rest from all those speeches, and we're going to start at 3 o'clock.
Aha, ja muszę to oddać. Ja w ogóle w tym... Zaraz, ja w ogóle w tym przyszłam. Tak, bo ja tu szpiegowskie mam.
If I just bring my tomorrow morning, or
Yeah, Mauricy here is taking care of the computer, so
To z tym bym wróciła na pamiątkę.